Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jewel Exchange with Spit Gems. Today's honored guest is a New Jersey slash Philly representative, a man of many hats and many tricks, a dude that's just been super duper consistent from the time that I've come in contact with him. Screwtape, what it do, my brother?
Now, when you talk about consistency, do you mean whipped or powdery? Because I feel like I ain't been too consistent, but I appreciate the kind words, bro. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad we're able to sit down and have a little discussion. Because like I always thought in my mind when I saw you doing this, I was like, yo, I got to get on the show. I think it would be a good convo, you know?
Indeed, brother, indeed. And I thought of you, very early on as well, man. But yo, yeah, the consistency is definitely there, man. We'll get to that, man.
Hmm.
What I wanted to start with just right off the top is something that has always kind of crossed my mind when I would read your name and see your name, right? So, but I'll let you tell it first though. What is the origin of the name Screwtape?
So there's an author named C.S. Lewis, and most people know him from Chronicles of Narnia,
Right,
children's books, right? But
right.
he's like a religious scholar. You know what I'm
Indeed.
saying? And so he writes books, um, you know, based through Christianity, which I don't want to give people the wrong idea. I'm not like some sort of devout, I don't really follow any particular discipline. But the book that he wrote called the Screwtape Letters was something I read early on in life, suggested to me by my mother. So I said, I'll check it out. And it was easy to read because it's short chapters. It's like a page and a half long. It's basically letters written from one of the top devils in
Right.
hell to one of the, to a demon that's basically overlooking, over these human souls. And it was basically in reading the book, it kind of tells you all these, how am I trying to say, the methods and the trickery that like for instance, he goes, the devil says to the demon, don't make your human think of murder or rape or whatever. He's like, he might develop a conscience after that,
Right.
and then you lose him forever. You know what I'm saying? He's in the enemy's house, as they would call it, and that was God's. So everything was like written in, opposites almost, right? He said, what you do is you take the what's the greatest virtue? Humility, right? In the seven virtues, right?
Right.
Humbleness, humility is the. He said you take the best one and you wreck it with the worst sin, pride. Make him proud of being humble. And I was like, ooh, this is deep. This has got teeth to it. At a young age, it made me it pulled back the veil on some shit. You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
Indeed.
oh, okay. And so I always found that like when I was writing, that I was it made like in reading the book, right? It sounds evil. It's like the fucking devil. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So like it sounded hardcore and fucking no holds barred. I liked it. It was very like, and so in my writing, I sort of tried to mirror that same shit where it was like you think you're reading the devil's words, but in you get what I'm saying? But in reading it or hearing it, you're getting a godly message. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Like it's sort of duality is there, and it was just something that sort of just stuck in my mind as a pen name, and I branded myself with it, and then people just been calling me Screw or Scrizzy or Screwdini or whatever since then. It's funny you say because I've always kind of questioned the name. I was, oh, my name was, you know, something a little cuter, a little fucking, what's the word? You know what I'm saying? Like a little more
I think
like
it's
the
I
name.
think it's I think it's amazing, man. It's
Thank you,
because
thank you.
because it points to such a prominent author, such a deep author in C.S. Lewis, and
Because this
many
shit,
people consider the
right?
book an apologetic, a Christian apologetic book, but
Yes,
it's being
yes,
spoken from a demon's perspective, and
yes.
and I would advise any of my listeners or anybody listening, period, to go read that. You know what I mean? Because it's
It's
an
an easy read too. It's literally
it's an
like
incredible piece of work.
each chapter is like just a letter from the devil. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like a page or two long, and it gets right to the point. So it's kind of dope.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you for that. And I figured that much. Just wanted to confirm. But yo,
Yo,
tacking
every
on.
now and again, somebody recognizes it. They go, "Oh, is that from so and so?" Most people don't know. They think I've gotten called the screw, like they think I'm Screw the graffiti writer, or or
Okay,
or or they think I'm from Texas, and I was into
chopped and
DJ
screwed.
Screw. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah,
so. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yo, tacking on to the back of that question, were there any names prior to that?
yeah, yeah. I think I used to call myself. No, it was self squared or some shit like that. I'm talking. I might have been 15, 16, some shit like that. Fucking notes or 8 4 was the year I was born. I used to just call it that. Fucking, but they were short lived. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Just
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
them on.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I'm a big believer in that. You like a nickname should be given to you. I've always
Right,
respected the artists where like I remember the first time I learned KRS One's name was Chris. I was like, that's he got that's it's his name. You know what I mean? Like basically that was his graffiti name that he turned into his fucking. You know what I mean? And it came from. I mean he put an acronym to it eventually. You know what I'm saying? But like you
right.
get what I'm saying? Like I always thought that was dope when I see.
It's got some beginnings in the
Yeah, there's an
Bhagavad
order.
Gita as well, in
Okay.
Krishna,
Okay. Yeah.
in the god Krishna.
Hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the best nicknames are given too. Sometimes they may sound like the wildest ones, the crazy,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Tommy Bag
Yeah.
of Donuts type shit.
Bro, we was just having this conversation the other day and somebody was asking me what somebody's name meant, and I was trying to explain it to him, and we were just talking about like, yo, if you really think about it, some of the rappers' names that have been out for a long time. I mean, big household names. Like I use Snoop Dogg or 50 Cent for an example, where I'm like, they really kind of silly names. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But because the artist is so dope and culturally the impact they had over the years, like you just kind of bypass that directly and just you see it as you see it endearingly. But like if you came from an alternate universe and you're like Snoop, really that's his name, 50 Cent? Like I don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's like I get more of the whole like the names that sound like names like J Cole or fucking even like yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like those
No
names kind
doubt.
of sound like names, and that's more marketable in these days or whatever. And that's kind of what I was like worried about with my name. Like my shit sounds like a fucking metal band or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's unique though, for sure. And
It does stand out.
as I mentioned before, man, it has a great reference point, indeed. You know what I'm saying? That's
Well, and that
illmatic, man.
and that that was important because we came from an era where like we take this shit serious. It's not just like microwave. Like you was never going to take me as a clown. Like I wasn't just going to come in here and
Right.
you know, be a jester. You know what I mean? Like
Indeed.
it had to be something that made you scratch your head and go, oh, okay, because that's
Have
what
some
got me in love
substance
with it.
to it.
Yeah, and there was right. It had to be like, yeah,
No doubt. No doubt. Yo, let's talk about the origins, man. Let's talk about, the regional origins. So
mm,
New Jersey slash Philly, correct?
absolutely.
Which one comes first?
So grandfather, mother, rest of the family, on that side, all from Philly, and moved over here in the late '70s, um, which was kind of like grandfather made it. He's over the bridge. They got a driveway. You know what I'm saying? So, but South Jersey is a real interesting place because it's Camden County. Like, I mean, there's more to South Jersey than just Camden County. But where I'm at, we're a suburb of Philly. So it's kind of funny. Like in the rap scene, I've always had this like Philly's a tough town. It's a tough it's tough to get love there in a way where, and especially as an outsider, I feel like I sidestepped a lot of like, weird infighting and just crabs in a bucket hating type shit because I was always the guy from Jersey. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Interesting.
And I rep Jersey hard, but people did introducing me usually like they'll say Philly MC. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you got to get it where it's at, and there's way more shit going on in the city of Philadelphia. It's always been a musical city. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Philly Motown shit like, and both Philly and Jersey being in the tri-state area, I believe are super unsung heroes of hip hop, man. Like a lot of origin shit
Absolutely.
came from, like you said, let's talk about origin, like Cornbread, one of the first
Graffiti.
I won't say the first graffiti writer ever, but
Right.
one of
But
the
he's in
first
the
known.
run-ins with Taki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, but and because I mean they are highway apart. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had a cousin that lived in New York. So I'm not saying Philly like invented no shit, but who knows who influenced who in them early days? You know what I mean?
indeed.
Like, and yeah, cornbread. You know, I'm talking. There's DJs that invented scratches. Like the Philly DJ culture is crazy, right? And then back to
Absolutely.
the Jersey shit. Like North Jersey, there's so many acts that came out of North Jersey that in the early like formative era of hip hop that was so influential to everybody, to me, but to to the culture at large, that like they don't get enough credit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've always had a Jersey pride where I'm like, oh, I don't feel no shame about being not from the city or up top or anywhere because like Jersey's got its own like
Its own
thing
history
too.
and yeah, its
Yeah,
own renown,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly, right, right, right.
Undoubtedly. Some people would refer to Jersey as the sixth borough. I've heard that a lot of times.
I used to call, and I call Philly the seventh borough.
No
I got
doubt.
a lot of New York friends, and when they come down, they're like, "Oh, this shit remind me of the fucking
Just an
Brooklyn in the
extension of New
'90s, or
York.
Bronx or the Bronx like 10 years ago, whatever." Like, and I'm like, "Yo, it's not different. It's not that much different. We're both East Coast cities, and if you go down to
Philly
Maryland, if you go down to
reminds me,
Baltimore, it's not much different than here. So it's like, it's a little more different in New York, but
no doubt,
yeah,
no doubt. Philly for sure reminds me of Brooklyn heavily. Especially East New York. Certain
right.
parts of Philly even they just look identical to certain areas of East New York, Brooklyn.
Well, they was
Like
probably built a lot by the same developers, or at least the same
indeed,
city planners. In decades and centuries past. You know what I mean?
for
It's
sure.
but what's really most like poignant is like the fucking culture is the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Mm.
especially now, like obviously there's nuances, and New York. Let's just say they do the chopped cheese and we do the cheesesteak. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, 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 right.
it's the same shit though. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same culture. You know what I mean?
Indeed. What would you say? What would you say are the two? Give me like what are some striking differences as far as influence on your music and on your pen from New Jersey and from Philly?
All right, so like first and foremost on my mind would probably be like the artifacts.
Yo, pass that pilot, man. Pass that pilot, yo. I'm out to bomb like Vietnam under the same name, tame one. The bad one, ink flow master bastard with the magnum.
From the Jersey side of shit, when I was
Legendary.
first coming up, I remember just playing that fucking CD over and over and over again. Like that's them, just like, and then like to stay on the Jersey side of shit when the Outsiders came around. That was like I was like 15 or 16 probably, like listening to that, and that was really like listening to Pace, and then boom, you hear like Am on there, and it's like, oh shit, these
Yeah,
guys are actually somebody, right? So you wasn't just, you didn't feel like you were just listening to some underground CD, which I did plenty of that too,
of course.
but as far as like, yeah, bigger artists that like influenced like and kind of motivated me to be like, oh shit, like, and I eventually wound up doing joints with a lot of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Indeed.
so other artists though, I would say like, man, I mean, Def Jux was definitely like an era for me. I definitely like dive deep into some of those guys, like the conceptual shit that they like would bring forth. I think was dope. Like it's cool seeing like Run the Jewels now, like LP doing his thing. That's
Right.
like he's damn near a rock star. You know what I'm saying? Like they selling out, arenas and shit, doing their thing, and it's like in my mind, I'm like rightfully so. Like he put in work for fucking years. You know what I'm saying? Like developed that sound, found the
Yeah.
right artist to partner with. Like that's an art in
Unquestionably.
itself to know how to present yourself to the world. There's so much talent out there, but it's like people are, rabid pit bulls. They don't like fucking know what to do with themselves. You know what I mean? You can't chase two rabbits at the same time. You gotta like, that's part
Yo,
of my problem, I think.
speaking of those two legendary cliques, the Outsiders, the Artifacts. When I first became aware of you, the album was Scumbag Millionaires, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and you had both of these cliques on there. I mean, yo, the guest list on this album is it's a who's who. You
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Of
it's an embarrassment of riches. There's so much. Like I got like I was just
That's a
putting in
great way to put
legwork.
it.
Yo, I honestly got lucky a lot of times. I definitely like contacted people on some business shit with it too. Got, you know what I mean? Um, but it was in my mind. I said I'm gonna make the album I want to listen to, and at the same time, network, spread the tentacles out, and you know what I mean. Like see what's out there, and I had some connects up in North Jersey. Shout out to the custodian of records, self. He's an amazing MC too, dope producer. But was like throwing mad shows up in Newark and Trenton eventually after that. But like that helped me cut my teeth on, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I learned, you know, it was a balance between the Philly Cypher DVD era where dudes could rap for fucking 20 minutes with no beat and you
I
hanging
love
on
that. I
every
love
word,
that era.
you hanging on every word, you know what I'm saying? Um, and then the North Jersey shit where it was like stage performance and there was like dudes with a lot of
Character.
let's just say character and delivery and like and just the real, you know, yeah. So they that heavily like, you know, made me, so the talent level was so high too. Like it really made me say like, all right, I have to take this, like I'm gonna come with a written that is, you know, like I said, gonna make you scratch your head and yeah. I mean, I
I
really don't
mean,
know what
Pace
else to.
One, Reef the Lost
Oh
Cause.
right, we was talking about that project. Sorry, I trailed off. So
That's
then,
all good.
yeah, that was
Definitely a pen motivator on that
yeah,
album, though, for
yes,
sure.
and that's kind of what it was too in a way, making it where I was like getting these verses from people, and then being like, all right, I got to step up, I got to make my shit sound as, you know what I mean? So this was like
Right.
super early on for me, and it was really helping me learn how to rhyme and do different types of you know, verbal acrobatics at the time that, you know, I maybe wasn't like, I was still learning. You know what I mean? So like this was like 2000. I think I dropped it in 2011
Is it 13?
or 13. No, okay, yeah, you're probably right. It's 13, but a lot of the tracks were from
From
2008 to
a few years prior to
2012. You
that.
know, yeah, it was, you know, I think I counted it one time. There's like 50 features on it, bro. There's like
Yeah,
two
yeah,
or
the
three
list
MCs on
list
every
is
track.
incredible,
So
man.
yeah, and I hope that it was a listening experience in that regard too, where it felt like an old like a compilation tape. You know what I mean? Where it
I
was
mean,
like,
it's a star-studded event, man, for sure. You know, it's just so many ill brothers on that project. You know, Reef the Lost Cause is phenomenal artist for one, but he's also the greatest live show that I've ever seen. He's hands down the best live show I've ever seen. You know,
those
so
are.
so to have that, you know, and I don't know how many times you've performed with Reef, if you've performed those songs or if you've done them together, that is certainly a motivator. You know what I mean?
I can't say enough kind things about Reeve. I'm so glad you feel that way about him as a live performer because people
Indeed.
in our circuit in Philly, like it's it's not an unspoken thing, it's a spoken thing. You know what I mean? Every time he
No doubt.
rocks, people are like,
No
"Yo,
doubt.
he's the best, ain't he?" Like for real, like
No,
he
seriously,
really
man. I
like.
remember we were at a show in Brooklyn. I had performed, and I believe I performed before Reef, and then Reef was on stage, and Dave Chappelle walked in. You know, and it just
I've heard
he
tales about this night.
yeah, he was intrigued, thoroughly intrigued by the
Mm-hmm.
show, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just goes to show,
Yep.
how much ground and how many different ears and types of people this affects that kind of showmanship.
That's why this culture is important because I mean it really is. It's kind of crazy how quick things can spread and how yeah, you never know who's watching, right? But
For real.
yeah, Reef is one of the most well-rounded artists that like really embodies the shit that I feel like a large number of us feel like what this shit should stand for. You know what I'm saying? Like he like really kind of yeah, bro. He's Reef has opened a lot of doors for me. Put it that way,
No doubt.
and I can't say enough kind things about him. He's like a
Shout out to Reef, man.
solid dude. Yeah, solid dude.
Shout out to Reef. Yo, tell me a little bit about Sensei Star Records.
bro. Yeah, Sensei is an era, bro. We had like I really
Indeed.
felt like shit was gonna pop for us in some sort of way because the team was just fucking phenomenal. Like it was an unstoppable like league of extraordinary gentlemen. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? Like it, Jo the CEO, the whole shit. You know, I mean, the dude's like a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the most generous,
Shout out to
kindest
Jo, man.
souls.
Excellent brother,
Yeah,
man.
and so, but the team was like, I mean, it was crazy. What we had, Ren Thomas, who was like
Shout
really
out to
on
Ren.
fire at the time, and made incredible music. He was gifted in writing hooks and all this shit. So we had
Very
him and his
diverse
buddy.
as well.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, we had what Tab. I mean, literally, I can go on about each artist. I'm not gonna do that. So I can't. Like, I'm literally. We had Ghetto MC, Slaughter Rico, Boogie Mandela, fucking Adlib. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Adlib had a crazy tour circuit going out west. So we did. I think at least I went on 2 or 3 trips where we did,
Nice.
like Washington, Tahoe, San Fran, that whole Northwest. So it was a time where I really feel like we were cohesive. We put out this crazy project, and then directly after that, there was a raid at a smoke session event, which are now sort of popularized, right? You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? We got um, um, that sort of shit with the legalization is going, but
Right.
about 6 years ago, I think, maybe it was less, 5 years ago, the laws hadn't really, weren't as lenient yet, and that sort of had caused us to disperse because we were like really up in that scene a little bit, and we had our tents at all the events, and I don't want to say too much, but yeah, people
Indeed.
got
No,
people got
indeed.
wrapped up
Understood.
in it, and ultimately charges were dismissed. They tried to hit people with conspiracy and all sorts of shit because these were like organized events. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Just
But
a few years before
yeah,
this is
now,
common fare.
yeah, yup. Now that like they got built, literally as I drive across the bridge to Philly, there's fucking built, or from Philly to Jersey, there's billboards advertising weed drive through. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like the 180 is crazy, but like, um, it psychologically has an effect on you where you start to, everyone's moving a little looser now, and it kind of like, you know, I definitely.
It's crazy how many what a couple years difference could make.
Yeah. I mean,
Just with the
maybe the
legalities.
shit was that way in the first place. Like, you guys, it's hard. I mean, like, I still have PTSD anytime a cop gets behind me, but like,
Of course.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like it, it feels good to see the legalization come about. At the same time, it really does affect the market in the black market sense a little
Yeah.
bit, but it's like
Indeed.
either way,
And
it's good.
a
It's
lot
good.
of
It's a
things are
better thing. I'd
becoming.
rather not see people in jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels like a lot of things coming down the pipeline. I mean, for one, there should be some sort of retroactive retribution for these sort of mishaps. You know what I mean?
They try to do that, right? They try to like put it in the law that like 10% of the licenses should go to people that were affected by the war on drugs and all that shit, but it's not enough in my opinion. You
Not
know what I
enough.
mean? And they should make it a lot easier to start up. Like a lot of in Jersey, you got to have vetted $1 million in the bank to like, you know what I'm saying? Like operational startup costs and all this shit. It's not like some game that anybody could get in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's high corporate shit.
Bureaucratic,
Yeah, super.
red tape, as they say.
Yep. And they
Yo,
get in bed with.
shout out to Sensei Star Records though, man, because coming from a conglomerate, I'm somebody, a collective, let's say. I'm
Yeah,
somebody who I
yeah.
always had a bunch of talented dudes around me. You know what I mean? And I always felt like I was the one always trying to pull everything together, connect all the pieces. When I would see other crews and cliques that had the same potential and the same cast, of, like you said, a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's a perfect
Yes,
way to put it.
firing on
Um,
all cylinders.
it always stood out
Yeah,
to me, man. And Sensei Star was certainly one of those movements, undoubtedly.
we had a time, and shout out to Expo too. I forgot to mention him earlier. He produced like the entire project. But yeah, there was a time where I felt we were firing on all cylinders. Every artist was an entity unto his own. You know what I mean? He was completely independently capable of doing his thing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so I felt like, man, this could really make some noise. And we were, obviously, kind of a lot of our artwork and our
The logo.
the logo is just, a pot leaf pretty much, so like, but yeah, that was like some of the best times of my life. You know what I mean? I lost my mom and my grandfather, who I was living with at the time, both within like a year of each other. And I remember it was like right before we were about to go on tour, and I almost stayed home right after the funeral. I was like, man, do I go like stay home and mourn, or like go and chase this? You know what I mean? And I ultimately went, and which I sort of paid for later in times where I felt like I you know, it would come out of me at times where I had it more, and I ultimately I feel better with that now in my life. But point being is I
Good.
went on tour with them, and it was like some of the best experiences, and the camaraderie and the distraction that it provided at the time. You know what I mean? I was like I think I needed it, and it was eye opening. I'm still in touch with people to this day that are all across the country because of it. So it was really it kind of opened my eyes to the whole thing of like, yo, you could have your own economy in this shit. Like ad lib, like punk rock
Right.
this shit, and figured out how to fucking get in touch with all these venue owners all across the country. You know what I mean? And just booked all these shows, and like I realized I'm like, yo, if he could do this shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there's like that with the 100 fan theory where you can make, if you can get, or 1,000 fan theory, right? You get 1,000 fans all across the country, and most artists could probably do that.
Right.
If you can get $100 out of them every year by, offering your art
You have a career.
yeah, like you could at least, yeah. I mean, especially if you could do the shit in your side time, you could have
Indeed.
you could work another
Indeed.
job even, you know what I mean, or do whatever you do to get money. But like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Nah, no doubt.
yeah,
100%.
I think
100%.
I think a lot of
Yo,
artists sell themselves short. You know what I mean?
let
Myself
me
included.
let me ask you about working with PQ.
Mm,
Because this is a prominent artist, visual artist, um, somebody who is just nasty with the pens, the markers, with the graphics, um, a, a true individual in that sense because he's provided a style of art that is immediately recognizable, and he's
mm-hmm.
covered a wide array of different artists, talented people. The very first time that I saw his artwork was on your tape. I believe it was Soul Provider. Is that correct?
That was the first time I worked with him, and he has been like he gave me an iconic, um, like when you think of ODB, you think of the fucking food stamp cover, right? You know what I mean? Like you just
Right.
think of a certain image when right? So he gave me that. Like I kind of, trying to figure out. Like we were saying, artists are able to brand themselves and market themselves in a way that isn't kitschy or like on the nose, or you know what I'm saying? Like he was able to. I mean, it was just a good match in general. Like what he came from like the Philly graffiti world, you know what I'm saying, that we kind of mentioned earlier, right? That's got
Right.
its, there's so much nuance to it, and so much, all the ins and outs of it he knows, and was able to, through his art, like embody a a certain aesthetic that like, you know, I think a lot of people then really like latched onto because it's really
It's very
uh,
unique.
yeah, it's unique. Exactly. In the world of what we're used to seeing in hip hop, like the type of art, the types of, you know, and you know, you could probably break it down. It's probably a few different styles of stuff we were seeing, and it's not exactly like because like let's be real, like Griselda brought a certain sort of aesthetic to the you know what I'm saying, to the artwork,
Right.
and sort of made that in and of itself a lane. Like the artist became relevant. Whereas like in the underground hip hop for as long as I can remember, I don't ever know who the fuck any of the artists were that did any of the shit that I grew up listening to. You know what I'm
Indeed.
saying? Like that was
They definitely placed
not
more focus on the art and more
yes,
prestige for the art, more
yes.
respect for it.
Which is dope because it adds another dimension to you as an artist. Like, you know what I mean? And you're not just shoving this one thing down people's, you know, gullet. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you gotta fucking give them. You gotta put four corners on it. You know what I mean? Frame it. Give them a you know what I'm saying? Something to chew on. You know what I mean? Pause. Like, but for real, like you people don't just want, um, you know, at least those that, you know, there's all different types of fans out there. So you know, it's like.
Yeah, but people do want more. They
Yeah,
want
and
more,
I
and
think that, yeah, and
they
I think
want a
even
well-rounded experience. They
right,
want
and
to
that's our job as artists, right? Is to enlighten people and to like maybe bring some of that fire like Prometheus did, like bring something to people that may have not really previously considered any other like damn, I've never heard nobody spit like that. Like that's crazy. Like he fucking, you get what I'm saying? Like he
no doubt.
like I get that reaction from people sometimes, and that's not like a humble brag or anything. That's just like to make my
No, it
point.
is
Like
what it is, and it's well
yeah,
deserved.
I watch it like kind of turn people on in a way where they're like, oh okay, you're like damn, this is like like you said, motivates the pen maybe, you know, hopefully like that's all I really aim to do, you know, is try
Indeed,
to like you know give
indeed.
you know
But it does seem to me to be the landmark piece of art from PQ and his
oh
covers
yeah
is Soul Provider.
yeah.
That cover, you know, and you've gone on to do quite a few with him now.
So yeah, I mean, pretty much everything I've released since then has all been PQ. He's a fucking unmitigated beast. Like he literally like churns out work like crazy. Like in the respect, like we've been talking recently, like you know, like what if we instead of putting out, you know, instead of like what most artists do, they put out an album with like a single's worth of promotion and a single's worth of art. You know what I'm saying? Uh, why not put out singles and give them an album's worth of art? Or, you know what I'm saying? Tell a story through the art,
Through the art
and
as well.
and you know, kind of flip the script in that respect. He's he's a conceptual guy. Like he literally never really like approaches a project, I think, without having like some sort of like, you know, overarching aim to like tell a narrative of some
Story
sort
arc.
or like yeah exactly um that's why I hold him in the highest regard for and uh again for giving me that imagery. Like it really just it set a fire under me too. I was like, all right, yeah, I could run with this, you know what I mean? And I was able to
Yeah.
like, you know, inspired me to make more music. So like
The
yeah,
the Talk to Me Nice joint
yeah.
um is ridiculous, man. That might be my favorite one. Now, the vinyl is perforated SID sheets. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do they work?
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah. So
that's an amazing piece of art, brother. Word up.
again, shout out to
Talk to me about
PQ.
that idea.
So that's PQ, and that is a homage to Jimi Hendrix "Are You Experienced?" That's like it's almost a mirror flip of it, but just with like you know PQ's
No
style on
doubt.
it. And so I believe that's True Metals produced that entire project. We got Fast Life, Wrong Streets on it, but it's a one of my favorites sonically, um, just because of the yeah the there's some real mellow beats on there that are just definitely like I was in the pocket with it. So but yeah, regardless, PQ is definitely like um, you know, I'm just happy to see that he was able to like make his way through the scene, like in a how am I trying to say, like watching the art grow, and like
He's covered a lot of ground for sure.
yeah, it covered a lot of ground, and like it's the feeling of like watching someone you really admire and respect, like um, um, take it to the level you think they should be taking it to, and
Right.
like
Spread their
like feeling
wings.
like yeah, exactly, like it's sorry, it took me a second to get there. I'm high,
All
fucking,
good.
but like yeah, I can't like I couldn't want to see him win anymore. Like he's what I'm saying, like he's one of my like uh
You guys make a wonderful combo, man.
yeah
Your
yeah
style, your delivery. You have one of the slickest deliveries, brother. The way you put things together is unique. You know what I mean? It's unique in a way that his uniqueness with the art, it just
yeah
complements each other
yes.
so well. You
You
know
know
what I
how
mean?
shit just happens to work out sometimes in life where like it's I believe the whole shit started with he hit me. He knew I was into Air Maxes, and so was he. And so he hit me like a month before Soul Provider came out and asked me what my top 5 Air Maxes were, and I gave him them. And he drew up a bunch of of these Air Maxes. And a month later, like COVID hits, OT hits me up, which is why he's on the skits. That's OT at the end of the,
OT the real.
yeah, on the Soul Provider shit, right? And he hits me up and says, "Yo, I bet you can't do a project in a week. I bet you $100." I said, "You're beat." And got right to work. I was sending them videos every day. Like, look, got this song done. Got this song done. Boom. And so I'm like ready to put it out. And I'm like, what am I gonna call the tracks? I had 5 songs. PQ just a month earlier was like, yo, here's I'm doing these 5 drawings for the top 5 Air Maxes. We called the shit Soul Provider. It just like all made sense. You know what I mean? Like
Perfect sense.
like it was just one of those beautiful moments in my like trajectory that like it just all like everything
Just all
aligned and
all
just
in unison. Everything came
like
together.
everything just aligned super organic. Like I wish I could make that up. You know what I mean? He still owes me $100. Fucking like so
No doubt.
what
No doubt.
but yeah, no, and then that sparked the second one. I did the second one, which back to PQ, PQ produced the beats for the second one. The first one was just all random
Incredible.
producers. They were, incredible. And but I used like all, 5 different producers. And the second one, PQ produced them all. So, he makes beats too. Fucking,
Incredible.
it worked.
That's what's up, man. What would you say? What would you say is your? I know this is a difficult question. When people ask me this, um, it, as of lately, actually, this question has become a little bit more easier for me to answer. But what would you say is the work that you're most proud of? If you could pick one
Mm.
body of work, one album, or even if it's just one song, what would you say that was?
Mm. You mentioned Talk to Me Nice earlier. I felt like that was sonically cohesive and felt like it was a good representation of my like what I had to offer. You know what I mean? Like there was an evolution of the style a little bit on that project where like I felt more comfortable and just like it was because I'm a student of this shit. I never like I always feel humble when people pay me compliments. So I'm like, oh shit, like this is
Well deserved,
yeah
brother.
yeah no
The growth from and I don't know if Scumbag Millionaire is your first, if that was your first joint, but the growth from there to Talk to Me Nice is crazy, son. Like
I
you,
appreciate that,
and
bro.
this is what I meant by consistent. You know what I mean? Because you've done a lot of work in between them, but they've consistently gotten better, sharper, and you've gotten more comfortable, as you said, in your own realm.
I wish I stayed at the bench more and kept my nose to the grindstone more because always felt like if I had been more consistent, as you like word of the day. Fucking, if I had been more consistent, I felt like I may have like um been able to propel myself further in my career a little bit. But I've always, been drawn to other shit. Like especially as I'm getting older, like I'm, you know, we all family men. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Respect, shout out to 25th anniversary. That's a
I
beautiful thing. That's
appreciate
what
that, brother.
that's what real men do. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Like that's just so. But like, yeah. Fuck was I talking about? What was I saying? What were we talking about?
The consistency and growth,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
evolution.
yeah. So like, I wind up getting. I have other hobbies now. You know what I'm saying? I go. I've always been somewhere that went where the action's at, and if the homies are like, yo, we riding dirt bikes today, like I'm going for the dirt bikes. Like so, like I never had a lot of discipline in the studio, and I feel like if I had like when I lock in, don't get me wrong, I lock in and zone, get in my zone, if you will. But like as in terms of the routine and consistency of like which I feel definitely makes you better as an artist. But I never wanted to fall out of love with it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I never wanted to feel like it was a chore or like I got writer's block or some shit like that. Like nah, like I want this shit like fine wine, like fine alcohol that's distilled over time. You know what I'm saying? Like little drips and drabs might come to me over months. You know what I'm saying? And that's how a verse gets composed. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Oh yeah.
I don't put a time constraint on it really
Yeah, sometimes they
unless
come
somebody
really
puts some
fast,
paper.
and
Yeah,
sometimes it does
yeah,
take.
right,
This verses I've worked
yeah.
on for a year, man. Why
Oh
I've had
yeah,
to go
yeah.
back to them and
And that's with that said, I've definitely in my later years, like I'm able to put shit together way quick, especially if I got a couple of pieces to start with or whatever.
right.
I feel like I unlocked the key in my, or unlocked that door in my brain around. Like I remember when like No Filter came out, it was right after Scumbag Millionaires. I was like flowing in a different type of way, and I felt like I was like, oh, I know how to. I feel like I really know how to fucking rap now. Like you know what I mean? So
No doubt.
it
Yo,
was something
before
that
I forget
yeah.
though, let me touch on something you mentioned. Dirt bikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chinatown Sound
Mm.
performed
Mm.
your verse on a dirt bike. Let me give you your flowers for that verse right there too. That verse is hard. You said something in that verse that immediately stood out to me. I think it's not only because it's such a dope bar, but also because I said something not similar. The words were not the same or anything like that, but I think in the vein of what was being conveyed, it reminded me of something I said. But you said they'll stab you in the back and then try to blame you for not looking. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
That's a hell of a way
That's
to express that
that I
message.
got that I got literally that line is like in a reggae song. You know what I'm saying? And it was something that I you know what I'm saying? I have to give credit where that's due.
No
I've
doubt.
heard that in a song somewhere where like it was worded slightly differently. You know what I'm saying? But like
Right, right,
that
right.
concept jumped out at me. I was like, yo, that's a bar. Like
That's a heavy
that's
ball, man.
bars. Yeah. So I was like, and it was dope to be able to do that verse on the bike because I was really they caught me in traffic. Like you know what I mean? They were like, yo, pull up.
And
You know
this
what I'm
is
saying?
did you fucking ride the dirt bike from Philly to New York that day?
No, they was in Chinatown, Philly.
Oh shit.
So
Okay.
I remember when Bub hit me, I was like, "Yo, do y'all have a location yet? You're doing one in Philly. Do y'all have locations? Because I'll show you around. I had somewhere as far to my knowledge, they usually were just doing them in Chinatown in New York, like on a
Right.
random corner. I was like, "Yo, we do I got the Chinatown Arches that would be perfect. You know what I'm saying?" And Roscoe P.
That's
Coltrane was
ill.
there that day too. That was dope. I got to meet him. You know what I mean? Watch him do his thing. Um, but yeah, I was like, yo, this is special. I get to, you know what I'm saying? Got to wear my cool biker gloves. Fucking got to sit on the bike and fucking,
And Philly
yo,
certainly is
I will say I won't take Jake. You know what I mean? It was just I was in my bag that day.
no
Um,
doubt, no doubt. Philly is notorious for the bikes though, yeah? The
Yo,
culture
I
out there
wish
is
it was. I
serious.
mean, Meek like pushes it a little bit, but like I wish it was more like prevalent in the rap world, like to be shown off because it's like, yo, so much shit gets run around through the streets in the bikes. You know what I mean? If you're talking like for the but shout out to Porter Rich. I just seen a video of him, Camden artist that I just saw a video of him where he was filming his video and he had the whole, you know what I mean, Rod, what was his name, Mike Rod and all the dudes that do all the wheelies through Camden. He had them in the video, you know. So it's there, like, but I always thought it was like a slightly like unsung element of the streets that, like, I remember at an early age realizing, like, oh, they're not catching those quads. Like, that's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they're not, those dudes are out. Like, and especially in South Jersey, like Camden is like, you can get out into the woods and you can get through those blocks that cop cars can't, you know? So, like, it's just, it's something that it always stuck out in my mind. And, like, around where I came up in Pine Hill, there was like a pit behind our crib that, like, everybody had dirt bikes. So, like, I didn't have one, but, like, I get to fucking ride them every now and again. And
Right.
when I got old enough to be able to get, you know, my own toys and shit, you know what I'm saying, started getting into it. So, but it's definitely,
Yeah,
like,
back in Brooklyn, there was there's certainly nothing like I would imagine it's like in Philly with the culture of it all. But you know, that was the first time I seen a KLR. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, yo,
really got, you know, to realize how much fun that shit is. You know what I'm saying? And the sense of freedom it gives you
Yo,
in the street. You know what
it's a
I
pirate's life for me. It's a pirate's life for me.
mean?
You get what I'm saying? Like,
No
I
doubt.
started with, yo. I mean, between, you got your own set of rules out there, and between, between the other bikers and yourself, you know, if you're out there on the road, there's a certain code. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain way to ride to you know, show respect and not, you know what I'm saying, cause issues. But outside of that, it's every man for himself out there, and it's kind of dope to be able to, like, get through traffic in a way that's expedient and doesn't waste your fucking life
No doubt.
being, you know what I'm saying, getting yourself frustrated for no reason. You can have fun. Like, I have fun every day on the bike when I'm out there making my rounds. It definitely, like, you know what I'm
Be
saying.
careful, brother. Be careful, of course.
I've already broken elbow. You know what I'm saying. I don't know if you can
That's not
probably
fucking
see that.
fun.
Yeah. Nah, it wasn't. That shit set me back a little bit, but, you know, I'm a mutant. I fucking heal. Get back to square one. Back on. You know. Now
No
I'm a
doubt.
little more careful.
Regardless of music, you can include music in this. You can include your artistry, but simply, you know, overall as a man, what do
Mm.
you want to be remembered for? If you do want
Mm.
to be remembered,
Damn. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I surely feel like if I did some good in this world, I want to be remembered for that, so that it, you know, hopefully continues to be passed down. You know what I mean? Um, I like the saying, you know, to plant seeds for trees whose shade you'll never see. You
indeed,
know what I'm saying? Like, it's that I
that's a
feel like
great one.
that's the truest, like understanding maybe of this existence. And if you're in that type of wavelength, that you probably got, like, that you got to figure it out. And if that's maybe maybe to be remembered for somebody that wanted to, you know, awaken others, I guess, or
Others,
something. You know what I'm saying? Like, to put them on the you know, or at least help them on their, like, if they're already on that path of, you know, like what they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
right?
Right? Like, if I hope I was that, and so, you know, if someone was already looking for, like, a
You
push,
know,
a little push, you know what I mean? That I gave them a push in the right direction and was like, you know what I mean? Go
right.
get it.
I could
You know what I
agree with
mean?
that greatly. That's, you know, in a nutshell, that would be a great honor to be remembered for those moments and
Yeah,
those
as a
efforts.
good friend, you know what I'm saying? As a good friend, like,
Indeed.
that's, you know, and a good, you know,
Fatherhood has
right.
fatherhood has really set me on that path and taught me the value of planting the seeds for trees whose
Mm-hmm.
shade you will never sit in. You know what I'm saying? That's the greatest teacher of that for me.
Mm.
Um,
That, I mean, that's like a literal metaphor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, literally, you know what I mean? You
indeed.
literally planted this, you know what I mean? And it's beautiful watching people not, like, artists that are multidimensional and not afraid to, like, you know, show that they're family men, or that they have, that kind of dimension to them. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because I honestly, when it all falls away, that was the most important thing. That's the,
That
you
is
know what I
what's
mean? That's
most important.
because the other shit, we all got an expiration date on this.
And
You
the
know what I
truth
mean?
is, it's what I'm most proud of. As you know, personally, as a man, it's what
Yeah,
I'm most
yeah,
proud of. You know,
yeah,
I love the critical acclaims, and I love the even the, I don't know if you want to use adoration as the right word, but
yeah. Nah,
as an artist, you love to hear like, yo, son, you really, that
yeah,
thing
yo.
that you did right there really is dope. You
Because
know,
when
but
people go out of their way to really tell, it's like, yeah, you get a little small percentage of people that are just kind of gassing or whatever. But like when you
right,
get enough of that as an artist, where people are really like, showing you love, it is a good, it's a good feeling. I feel you, but that all pales in comparison, I'm sure, to, you know what I'm
greatly.
saying, the
It pales in
family and
comparison
the
greatly, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that, Screw. Before we do get out of here, once again, thank you for taking the time to do this, bro. I genuinely
Thank you.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we get out, two-part question. Tell the people what's next, and then leave us with one jewel. Just one jewel.
Mm, okay. So the next joint I'll probably drop is the Ice Rocks project with a feature from Benny the Butcher and a feature from Flea Lord, and we got Ren Thomas on it, and it's all produced by Ice Rocks, and
Shout out to Ice Rocks.
we're working on a stop motion video, so
Fire.
shout out to Stop John. Um, and so once that gets wrapped up, we're gonna push it through the correct channels and drop it, and then I think that'll be fun. And outside of that, I got a single, I think, with the homie Felons, that I think is gonna be really dope. And let's see, the jewel, man. If you meet the Buddha in the road, kill him. It's one that always stood out in my mind. It always, to me, represented like when once you think you like know the answer, like you don't, like, you know what I'm saying, like
Keep going.
yeah, keep going, like don't just and take that however you need to, you know what I mean, like
Right.
there's so many ways to, but like don't let that don't be fooled by your own you know what's the word, like I just heard this the other day. It's easier to
Arrogance.
it's your own hubris, right? It's easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them that they've been fooled,
Indeed.
right? So like it's true for yourself though too. You know what I mean? Like it's hard
Right.
to really like see that you don't want to, if someone else calls you on it, you naturally throw up your defenses, but to yourself, you're like, that's one of the hardest things to do in life, is to like see past your own programming and your own, societal pressures and your own, family pressures, all that shit. You know what I mean? So it ultimately help you in the end. But like,
That's
yeah,
a great one.
man. But shit, yo,
That's
I
a great
appreciate
one.
you having me on, bro. For
Nah,
real,
of
this was
course,
fun.
brother. Of course. And yo,
Yeah, yeah.
as new material comes out, man, we can revisit another joint, man. If you want to chop it up about anything you got going on, brother, we could always
For
run this
sure.
back. Word up.
Sure, yo. Appreciate you.
Yo, I appreciate you too, brother. Have a great one.
You already know.
It's all good and getting better. Follow the rules, now we rich forever.